The radar screens aboard the guided missile destroyers patrolling the narrow bottleneck of the Middle East did not flicker. They ignited with dozens of fast-moving blips. It is past midnight in the Strait of Hormuz, and the fragile peace that the world had been holding its breath for has just shattered into a million pieces. For weeks, the delicate ceasefire process was treated not as a diplomatic off-ramp, but as an opportunity for raw, unadulterated blackmail. Tonight, that dangerous game of chicken has officially crossed the point of no return, forcing the United States military to unleash an unprecedented wave of long-range precision violence. This is no longer a localized standoff or a routine freedom of navigation exercise. We are witnessing a historic, tectonic shift in global conflict. A direct collision between a superpower and a rogue regime that has spent decades preparing for this exact moment. To understand how we reached this cliff, you have to look at the staggering, multi-billion-dollar scale of the forces colliding along Iran's heavily fortified coastline. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps had effectively attempted to turn a 1,000-mile stretch of craggy cliffs, hidden inlets, and sovereign islands into a giant, inescapable kill zone. Facing them down are the absolute crown jewels of American naval power, including two massive supercarrier strike groups, the USS George H.W. Bush and the USS Abraham Lincoln. We are talking about tens of thousands of American sailors, hundreds of advanced combat aircraft, and billions of dollars of high-tech steel deployed to keep a single, 21-mile-wide maritime corridor open to the world. For decades, the friction between Washington and Tehran has simmered in the shadows through proxy networks and covert sabotage. But the economic stakes have never been higher. The Strait of Hormuz is the literal jugular vein of the global economy, a tight geographic choke point that carries 20% of the entire world's petroleum supply every single day. Behind the scenes, a high-stakes diplomatic chess game had been playing out in absolute secrecy. Through Pakistani mediation, the Trump administration had delivered a brutal, one-page ultimatum, a memorandum of understanding that was essentially a demand for unconditional surrender. It gave the Iranian regime a strict 30-day window to completely dismantle its nuclear ambitions and permanently defund its regional proxy armies. Tehran blinked, throwing a wild 14-point counterproposal back across the table, demanding billions of dollars in war reparations and total control over the strait. President Trump immediately threw those demands in the trash, leaving a terrifying 24-hour response window ticking down. Instead of signing the deal, the Revolutionary Guard chose to play their ultimate card, unleashing swarms of fast attack craft and suicide drones to lock onto every single ship attempting to pass into the Gulf of Oman. It was a desperate, hyper-calculated gamble to send oil prices skyrocketing and force the White House to back down. But the Pentagon does not negotiate under the threat of maritime extortion. As the hours ticked away and the response window slammed shut, 3 American warships advanced directly into the heart of the Iranian trap. But as the dark waters of the strait began to churn with incoming anti-ship missiles, how did the highly trained crews of these billion-dollar destroyers survive the initial, terrifying wave of asymmetric chaos? The answer lies in a masterclass of naval air defense and automated firepower that unfolded in a matter of heart-stopping minutes. As the 3 American steel giants, the USS Truxtun, the USS Rafael Peralta, and the USS Mason, cut through the heavy, humid air of the strait, the environment itself was an active adversary. In this narrow maritime corridor, the sea temperature routinely soars, creating a dense layer of thermal haze that can play tricks on optical sensors and radar arrays alike. The geography here is a tactical nightmare for large surface warships, forcing them to navigate a tight shipping lane with the rugged, mountainous Iranian coastline looming just 12 to 15 miles to the north, while the jagged cliffs of Oman's Musandam Peninsula sit a mere 20 miles to the south. This compressed terrain gives an attacker the ultimate home field advantage, allowing them to hide land-based missile launchers behind coastal ridges and mask the radar signatures of small boats against the clutter of the shoreline. The Revolutionary Guard believed this restrictive geography would slow the American destroyers down, trapping them in a crossfire where numbers would inevitably overwhelm technology. The day-by-day escalation had reached its boiling point on May 7th, when the order was given from Tehran to spring the trap. The initial wave was a coordinated asymmetric nightmare designed to saturate the defenses of the American ships. Dozens of ultra-fast Revolutionary Guard speedboats, organized like a literal swarm of angry hornets, darted out from the dark inlets of Kesham Island, racing across the choppy waters to close a 10-mile gap at speeds exceeding 50 miles per hour. Simultaneously, the sky filled with the buzzing roar of low-flying kamikaze drones descending from the clouds to target the exposed decks and radar dishes of the warships. From hidden concrete ramps along the mainland, multiple anti-ship cruise missiles breached the waterline, screaming toward the destroyers at near supersonic speeds from a distance of less than 20 miles, giving the American crews only a handful of seconds to react. But the Pentagon's war doctrine had anticipated this exact scenario for decades. Instead of panicking, the ships activated their integrated weapon systems. The automated close-in weapon systems on the outer decks spun up, creating a literal wall of tungsten ammunition that shredded the incoming drones into thousands of harmless fragments. Standard missile batteries launched in rapid succession, intercepting the low-flying cruise missiles miles before they could ever threaten the hulls. On the water's surface, the destroyer's main deck guns opened fire with devastating precision, blowing the fast attack craft apart before they could get within firing range. To seal the victory, MH-60 Seahawk helicopters lifted off from the flight decks into the hazy sky, hunting down the surviving speedboats with air-to-surface missiles and neutralizing the entire maritime threat in a matter of minutes. Not a single American sailor was scratched, and not a single piece of American steel took damage. With the immediate naval threat neutralized, the tactical script flipped completely, moving from defense to a massive, multi-phased retaliatory air campaign. Within hours, the skies over the Gulf became an airborne highway as heavy refueling tankers established a continuous fuel bridge over a 300-mile orbit, allowing American strike fighters to loiter indefinitely over their targets. Step by step, the American military began systematic strikes to strip away Iran's ability to project power across the strait, carving out a secure maritime corridor stretching 40 miles into the Gulf of Oman. Yet, as brilliant as these tactical maneuvers and geographic realignments were on paper, they mean absolutely nothing without the specialized high-tech machines of war designed to execute them, which brings us to the terrifying arsenal of hardware that the Pentagon deployed to systematically rip the heart out of Iran's coastal defenses. The spearhead of this devastating retaliatory air campaign relied on a high-tech combination of low observable stealth, electronic warfare, and overwhelming precision-guided ordnance. The primary ghost in the machine was the F-35 Lightning II stealth fighter, operating directly from the flight decks of the supercarriers patrolling the Arabian Sea. On paper, the F-35 is a marvel of engineering, boasting a radar cross-section smaller than a golf ball, a top speed of Mach 1.6, and an operational combat radius of roughly 680 miles without refueling. It is designed to carry up to 5,700 pounds of internal weapons bay payload to maintain its stealth profile. In the real-world combat theater over Hormuz, these fifth-generation jets performed exactly as advertised, slipping completely undetected through Iran's air defense grids. However, the true logistical nightmare of the F-35 emerged not in the air, but on the carrier decks, where its radar-absorbent skin required hours of specialized maintenance under the blistering 110-degree Fahrenheit Gulf heat, severely testing the endurance of the naval air crews. Working hand-in-hand with the stealth fighters were the EA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft, which served as the ultimate tactical disruptor. The Growler is equipped with advanced tactical jamming pods designed to identify, locate, and completely neutralize enemy radar frequencies from a distance of over 100 miles. During the opening salvo of the retaliatory strikes, these electronic warfare platforms flooded the Iranian airspace with intense electromagnetic white noise. The actual performance of these systems was catastrophic for the Revolutionary Guard, as it effectively blinded their long-range early warning radars and prevented their surface-to-air missile batteries from obtaining a stable target lock. Once the air defense network was paralyzed, the heavy hitters moved in to dismantle the coastal infrastructure. FA-18EF Super Hornets and land-based 10 Thunderbolt ground attack jets began systematically picking apart targets using precision-guided joint direct attack munitions carrying warheads weighing up to 2,000 pounds. The A-10, flying low and slow at speeds under 300 miles per hour, utilized its 30mm rotary cannon to shred land-based anti-ship missile launchers. The main targets of this massive bombardment were the hidden arsenals of the Revolutionary Guard, specifically the Soviet-designed SSN-22 Sunburn cruise missiles. On paper, the Sunburn is a terrifying weapon, capable of traveling at supersonic speeds of Mach 2.2 over a range of 80 miles, carrying a 730-pound high-explosive warhead designed to sink large warships. But in actual combat, the system revealed a fatal flaw. Its massive active radar guidance system acts like a beacon in the night, allowing American electronic warfare assets to locate the launchers and destroy them with precision strikes before they could even prime their guidance systems. Further down the coastline, on the fortified stronghold of Keshem Island, the Pentagon targeted massive underground missile storage facilities. These subterranean concrete bunkers housed hundreds of Gaudier and Nasser 1 coastal defense missiles, alongside large stockpiles of the notorious Shahed 136 Delta Wing suicide drones. The Shahed 136 has an impressive on-paper range of up to 1,500 miles and carries a 90-pound explosive payload, traveling at a slow, fuel-efficient speed of 115 miles per hour. While these drones have proven highly effective in saturation attacks against fixed civilian targets, their real-world performance against a fully prepared American naval strike group was a total failure. Their slow speed and lack of electronic countermeasures made them incredibly easy targets for the ship's automated rolling airframe missiles and 5-inch deck guns, turning the feared drone swarms into little more than target practice. Step by step, the combination of American stealth technology and overwhelming electronic suppression permanently sealed the entrances to Iran's underground missile cities and wiped their coastal defense network off the map. Decades of heavy military investment by the Revolutionary Guard were neutralized in less than 48 hours of concentrated air power. Yet, as the smoke cleared over the burning ruins of Bandar Abbas and Sirak Base, a sobering realization began to set in among military commanders and geopolitical analysts worldwide. Modern total wars are not just fought with supersonic missiles, stealth fighters, and high-explosive bullets. The kinetic destruction of physical weapons is merely the opening salvo in a much broader, far more ruthless style of conflict, where the ultimate battlefield is not found on the sea or in the air, but within the global financial architecture and the fragile internal stability of a nation's economy. The physical destruction of the Revolutionary Guard's coastal infrastructure sent a shockwave through the global financial architecture far faster than any missile could travel. While the smoke still rose from the ruins of Keshem Island, a secondary, non-kinetic war was launched to permanently cripple the regime's ability to fund its military machine. The United States, working in lockstep with international allies, immediately enacted a total maritime blockade on Iran's primary energy export hubs, effectively cutting off the illicit financial pipeline that keeps the Islamic Republic alive. Tanker insurance premiums for any vessel daring to enter the region shot up like a missile, causing international shipping conglomerates to completely abandon Chinese bypass routes and traditional Gulf supply lines. This economic stranglehold was further tightened as the United States and Bahrain introduced a sweeping new draft of multilateral sanctions at the United Nations, targeting every major foreign financial institution that continued to process transaction data for Iranian oil sales. Within 48 hours, the value of the Iranian rial collapsed to historic lows, triggering immediate inflation that sent the cost of basic food supplies and medicine skyrocketing across the country. This massive economic shock instantly transformed the battlefield from the warm waters of the Strait to the volatile streets of Tehran and Isfahan. For years, the Iranian public had grown increasingly disgruntled, watching billions of dollars of national wealth being funneled into foreign proxy networks and expensive, asymmetric military hardware while the domestic infrastructure crumbled. The total neutralization of their coastal defense network in less than 2 days shattered the regime's illusion of military invincibility. With the internet filled with footage of burning military depots, thousands of citizens, led by a frustrated younger generation, began flooding urban centers in widespread protests, demanding accountability and an end to a reckless foreign policy that had brought the country to the brink of complete ruin. The internal pressure on the clerical leadership reached a fever pitch, creating a dangerous domestic security crisis that threatened the survival of the regime far more effectively than any American bomb could. This brings us to the ultimate, heavy paradox of the entire conflict. Iran's leadership had spent decades building a highly specialized asymmetric warfare doctrine designed to hold the global economy hostage at the Strait of Hormuz. They believed that by threatening a maritime chokepoint that handles 20% of the world's petroleum trade, they could force a superpower to blink at the negotiating table. In reality, their ruthless strategy produced the exact opposite result. By overplaying their hand and firing on American destroyers during a delicate ceasefire window, they gave the Trump administration the perfect geopolitical justification to completely erase their naval capabilities and enforce an unconditional economic surrender. The White House made it chillingly clear through official briefings that if Iran does not accept the strict terms of the one-page Memorandum of Understanding, the next wave of military operations will hit the country even harder. The regime is now caught in a catastrophic trap of its own making, facing total conventional military destruction from the outside and a brewing revolution from the inside. So now, the critical question hangs over the entire global community. Will the Iranian leadership finally bow to Washington's final warning, swallow their pride, and sign the surrender agreement? Or will the Revolutionary Guard seize absolute control of the government and drag the entire nation into a total destruction scenario where they permanently lose control of their territory? It is a high-stakes geopolitical drama where a single wrong move could reshape the map of the Middle East forever. What do you think about this unprecedented American response? And do you believe a permanent peace can actually be achieved through raw, overwhelming strength? Go ahead and sound off with your thoughts in the comments section down below. We read every single one of them. If you found this tactical breakdown insightful, make sure to hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a frontline update from the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next episode.